guys are out there, you want to hit that heart sign, like sign. If you're in your office on Clubhouse, if you're sitting in some dull, droomy place, you might enjoy just having a window of something outdoor and beautiful. Glad to have each and every one of you with us. We speak Shemek Hak SUKKOT to your lives, over your lives. We bless Yahweh for you and who you are today. And we want to get started right away. Father, we do thank you, love you, magnify, and exalt you for who you are and why you are. Ask you to be with us, in us, through us, and toward us for your name's sake and for your praise as we begin to understand all things that come from and that come of you. To you be glory, honor, dominion, might, and power, both now and forevermore. In the precious and in the matchless name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we say and we pray. Amen. Well, Zion, here we are again, another beautiful day in a place where only Elohim can get glory. We take opportunity just to speak some things into your lives.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.
Glad to have you all back with us. This is a time and an opportunity in this day of great rejoicing and great celebration. We're in having a part of what is known as the Hag Shemek Hag SUKKOT. We speak Shemek Hag SUKKOT to you and over you. I just couldn't be inside today, so I caused myself a problem. I'm trying to get out here and be out here in this beautiful sun and this lake. I just love the water. I love the grass. I want to take my shoes off and put my feet down inside of this dirt, this earth, and feel the mud under my feet. I want to build and create some gardening. So for those of you who are with us, you may be experiencing a little bit of a delay because the wind is really pretty gusty out here where we are right now. And those of you who are viewing online, if you're getting a good view online, it's not too broken up to about y'all today, which is why I came outside, because I knew your guys' weather was pretty well. Some of you in London, some of you in other cities. I know they're not all the same, so forgive me. This whole cultural thing may take a whole new light, a whole new level of live streaming, and we sort of kind of really have to get reacclimated to all those things. We're going to talk about, as we've promised, a lot that goes on with respect to what it is we do. But we want to make sure we understand, as we had to deal with just the other day, understanding cultural differences and cultural divides, and knowing that they do literally exist, and that there is much that goes along with them, and we want to make it our business to put ourselves in a proper way of experiencing, Elohim in a better way. So let's just get right into this, because a lot of people can feel a certain kind of way about it. I would hope some of y'all could help to invite some of our friends into the room today, because it's important, and because it's real, and because it's what we do. And I want to talk, I guess, really in a lot of ways to some of the people who are a part of BWJ Men and DKM Men, so that we could get ourselves in a better position overall to work with some things here. Now, one of the real joys that we have is sharing with you guys the truth. Can y'all hear me okay in our visual world? Y'all hear me okay? I know the wind is blowing. My camera shades going to be okay for you guys. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, can y'all hear me? I need a Facebook person. Let me know. Sheikah says she can hear me on YouTube. Um, Jackie is Jackie. You can hear us, okay, Minister Jackie. Thank you. Um, Great, and thank you, Leslie, for your information. It helps always. Um, but make some invites. Get Elder Rogers in the room. Somebody just let Minister Walker know we're live. Somebody let Brother Gregory know we're live. Somebody get Unstoppable. Let her know we're live. Get somebody invite. Make some invites for me, please, if you can. Get Pastor Spencer. She might need to know we're live as well. Pastor Roche, Prophet Roche. This would be a good time. If I try to do it, I'll take too much attention away from those we're trying to serve. But if I got a moderator or two out there who knows a few of those names, could drop a hit on our normal mods. We are 135 getting started. Axios 151 now that we finally did. And whenever you're out here, Florida's weird. Some days I can get a real good signal, and other days it's difficult, but it is what we do. And then when the winds are blowing like they are today, it makes it difficult, and I got to try to make sure we're secure. And this is what I love about being just real. I think that we become so stage driven. Watch this, theologian. Somebody get Simone, I think it is. Simone, blessed Simone. Somebody get Dr. Valorius, get her out here. Somebody get Brother Eugene. Somebody get Brother Eric Felton. Somebody grab Jesse. Somebody inbox these people so we can get some stuff. Invite them so we can get some stuff off on the proceeding word today. That'll help many, many, many people. Listen, what's that lady Evans? Egishi, Egipica. I always mess her name up. Yeah. Is it Egyptian? I'll go with it, but I don't think that's it. But we'll have to check that. But thank you for putting that out there. Yeah. But you know what I'm talking about. Evans, I think it's her last name. Somebody make sure Sheikah's here. No, Sheikah's here. Somebody get MDNTV. Somebody grab, we haven't seen some other brethren for a while, but let's just invite them in, not because we want them to come in. I want to share this today with everybody so we can learn this stuff. Get my Grice family, get the author, get Michelle Grice, Jordan Grice, get them notified. They can just listen in. Somebody get Ronnie, get Brother Ronnie, get him on here. Tell him just to stay close so he's in earshot. Somebody grab, y'all know who we need to grab, so get at it. Let's work together as a unit. Now, this is the proceeding word. This is a global broadcast for how many years? Woo, 15 years. We've been doing the proceeding word, reaching countries all over the world, and we're honored to be able to be a vehicle to carry the gospel, to carry the kingdom lifestyle to the world of Christendom. And there's a difference in Christendom and kingdom, but there is Christendom inside a kingdom, and Christendom tries to propagate kingdom, but does it Christendom style, which isn't kingdom at all. So we want to make sure we have this opportunity today. I'm going to touch on something very quick. Don't need a whole bunch of time to do it, but I think that it'll benefit many of you in this time of celebrating SUKKOT. You are in the time of the season of SUKKOT, and many think that we understand that, and few do, because you thought SUKKOT was just about Yom Teruah, the blowing of the shofar. You thought SUKKOT was only about Yom Kippur, the most holy day of the year, the fast of Yahweh, which it does hold very strong importance. However, there is also the honoring and the feast of tabernacles, the feast of booths for those who are of the ethnicity of Israel, primarily what you would call Judaism, which it goes beyond Judaism, because Judaism wasn't the only ones doing the Feast of Booths when the Torah was rendered. You now have people who are both of Kabbalic, you have people who are both of uh, Ethiopia, you have people who are both now Yemenite, Mennonite. They're spread over all countries. You call them the lost tribes of Israel. They are known biblically as the Northern Kingdom. So everybody that understands Torah, who is of the ethnicity of Israel, which is who was given the Torah, they in fact are honoring the Feast of Booths. And these things are very specific, significant, and important uh, to know. So because you know the season doesn't know you know all the times in the season, but today we're going to talk about the practicalities and the functionalities while we're in Sukkah time and season. And equally, we're going to talk to you about all the practicality and functionality of the Moedim. Now, this practicality, this functionality of the Moedim is common to all the Moedim. So today we'll talk about one that we keep getting questions on because everybody wants to comply, nobody knows how to comply, and many people are interesting in their compliance. And some obtain guilt, some obtain disdain, some obtain animosity, some obtain antagonism, some obtain a element that says of nonchalant, some obtain a actual, though you say you want to comply, though you say you want to be obedient, some walk into straight disobedience with the arrogance and the actual confidence that you still gonna get God to bless you. So I want to make sure we're all understanding the practicality and the functionality. There is no judgment of what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to give you the writ. Let the writ tell you, and then you have to choose this day who you serve. Not this day. It's me using Bible statements that you guys are accustomed with, but I want you guys to understand what that looks like and what that's all about. So today we're going to give you some practicality. You have to choose, as Joshua told them that came out of Egypt. Hey, you can be with the forefathers that we had over in Egypt. You can do what they did. That's your choice. So if you think it a good thing to be with the forefathers and the way they served the gods over there in Egypt and what Yahweh did to those gods in Egypt in front of our eyes, and we watched them die in the Dead Sea, in the Red Sea, you can get with them if you want to. But now that I'm out of Egypt, now that I'm over the 40 years in the wilderness, now I'm in the promised land, now I'm able to worship according to the instructions of the Torah. As for me and my house, we gonna serve Yahweh our Elohim by virtue of his word, his writ, and his instruction. End of discussion. So you have to choose, just like I have to be like Joshua. I can only tell you what the writ says. I can only share with you what the writ talks about. I can only share with you how Yahweh wants it done. You have to choose based on your preparedness, based on your desire to be compliant, based on your free will, whether you serve him in that capacity or not. And thereby, it's the difference of whether you have, watch this, a form of godliness and deny the power thereof, or you honor him for the power thereof to literally fall upon you. And I promise you, many people think because if you participate in one part, you got all the parts. Even Messiah told you, and when he was talking to one of the guys in the New Testament, he told them in the New Testament, he says, okay, so you brought the frankincense, you brought the myrrh, you brought the cenice, okay, you brought those grains and things. That's real good. That's real nice of you. But it would have been better for you to have done all those things rather than to left one of those things undone. That's what Messiah said. I didn't say it, but I'm gonna repeat it because he had said it, and when he had said it, I know that Ruach Hakodesh hastens to what he says. I know that he got the greatest reward of us humans by sitting in the right hand of the Father, because he obeyed the words of the Father to the point that he himself now sits in the Father as his reward. So when he told the people that were asking him questions, trying to trap him up, the heads of the religious order and sectors in that region and time were trying to get him trapped up to prove he's just some false whatever, false prophet. He goes on to say, listen, I hear what y'all doing. But it would, and I see what you're saying. I see you done brought your little Sinise, and you done brought your little your fragrance, and you done brought all the stuff that you're supposed to bring down here. But it would have been better for you to not done the other thing you chose not to do, than to think you can bring this in here and everything good with you. You did the one thing, but it's better for you to do all the things. And when you do all the things, you are in Elohim. But to leave that one thing undone, you're undone. And that's just the facts of the matter. Does that make sense, everybody? I hope that does, so we can move quickly along. Now, again, there is no judgment from this human upon any human. There is no judgment upon me to any of you, but many of you ask the questions because many of you are learning. Our job in DKM Ministries, Darash Kingdom Ministries, and in VWJ Victory Worldwide Ministries is to make sure you understand what the word says we are to do. I have to do it. You have to do it. And if anybody's going to deem me a leader, you're going to see me do what the word says do. Even when I don't do what the word says do, you're going to see me get back on track with the word and what it says to do. That's the only way I think a person can lead you in this life, is by living this life with your successes and your failures, and how you get back on track and how you stay on track. And that's what a leader does. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So let me now take this chance to bring us into some compliance. So, many people have asked us, well, Apostle, what do you do when we talk about these seasons? Well, the first thing we do is we learn the dates, we learn the times, we learn the seasons, we learn the reasons for the seasons, and then we carry them out because that's what he wants us to do. Now, the second thing is that we also comply with the presenting of our bodies. We also comply with not just the presenting of our bodies as living sacrifices, but we also comply with the presenting of what he says to bring him as a living and a legitimate sacrifice. So when we talk about this, with what we have been sharing and what we have been understanding and what we've had as an expression of joy, an expression of compliance, and an expression of obedience, all same thing, compliance, obedience. But you got to catch this, because without it, it really doesn't make the kind of sense you want it to make the right way. So let me say it again for you. I think I'm just talking off the top of my head. Without understanding, let me say it this way. I want a t-shirt on this. Everybody who reads the Bible doesn't necessarily understand biblical things. Just because you read the Bible does not mean you understand biblical things. And people think because I read the Bible, I know the Bible. No, you know about, and you in many cases don't know what you don't know about it. And though you read it your way, you read it with an understanding of your knowledge. And so just because you read the Bible doesn't mean you understand biblical things. Just for the sake of our conversation. Now, in this celebration of what we do here in this time and season of SUKKOT, there is a offering of your body. Does anybody know what it means to offer your body a living sacrifice, as Paul told us to do? When he said in Romans chapter 12, presenting your body a living sacrifice, holy, kodesh, and acceptable unto Elohim, which is our reasonable services. Does anybody know what that means, how that plays out? Does anybody know what Paul meant by presenting your body a living sacrifice? I'll give you a hint. You can come off mic, say your name. I'll give you a hint. It also references another epistle that stated, and it was Paul who wrote this epistle. Some argue that it was, but it is the book of Hebrews. Paul is the author, undoubtedly to me, of the book of Hebrews, I tried to prove Paul wasn't the book of Hebrews author, and in doing so, proven that it was. So I believe without doubt, theologians, seminarians, that yes, Paul did in fact write the actual book of Hebrews. And if he did not, then there was someone he literally spit out of his loins that did. So the statement that Paul makes is, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together as some is. So can someone help me on broadcast today? Just come off mic. I'll put you to here. We said, do you know what it means to, in fact, present your body, as Paul said in Romans chapter 12, a living sacrifice? Anybody want to take that chance, that risk with a voice? Anybody come off mic, say your name. I'll give you space.
Hey, this is Kelly.
Okay. Who was the first one, moderators? I heard three people. Who was first? Brianna was first. Okay, go Brianna. Kelly, I'll come to you in a second. Go Brianna. Okay, I heard what you said. Kelly, what you got?
I feel that when God says for us to make our body a living sacrifice, it's His will and not our will. So whatever it is that God wants us to do and what He wants us to become is to be able and willing to actually walk in that gesture of what it is that He wants from us. So that means that we're giving up a lot of things. We can live and we can have fun, we can love people, we can be alive, but yet we're not in the simple structure. We can't be in that order at all when He said allow your body to be a living sacrifice.
Okay, now that's allowing your body, but the actual instruction, and Kelly, you're correct. But the actual instruction to the question of what Paul wrote in Romans 12 was present your body. And Kelly, that's great. Bree, that's also great. So let's surmise this. Was there a third voice that I heard? Great ad, guys. Was there a third voice that I heard, moderators? Just Bree and Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Great ads, guys. Great helps. Now let's put this down into what Paul was very specifically talking about. Romans chapter 12, I'll put it on the board just for the sake of getting through this so I can get to the point for why we're here. Let me pull my Bible up for you guys, and hopefully you'll see it on screen. If you're watching us on the broadcast, you'll catch this as it comes up. My Bible's not up there. Bible alive. File. Okay, I got my Bible. Okay, if you'll watch this, I'm going to talk about what Paul is saying. Brianna's beautifully in the vein. Kelly is beautifully in the vein, and then she expanded it towards lifestyle outside of the instruction Paul gave, but it still is the instruction in essence of how we should look and live in the earthen realm. And if you do the specific instruction it renders, then you will in fact have no problem carrying it out in real life. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm in Romans chapter 12, verse number 1. This is the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul is a Torah observant individual. He is writing to those of Rome who are, like him, citizens of both Israel and citizens of Rome. This is a significant thing. So Paul writes this to the people in Rome who he's trying to remember and remind them, brothers, verse 1, I beseech you. The word beseech here is I beg you. He says, therefore, KYC, what's the problem with him saying, therefore, this early in this chapter? KYC, what's the problem with him saying, therefore, this early? Say your name. This early. I need a graduate from KYC. Why is this an issue? What becomes our issue with him saying, therefore? Wanda, go. So we got to go back 3 verses just to find out in context what the therefore is about, right? So Paul's content in verse 1 of Romans 12, we got to go back into Romans 11 to understand what he says. So Romans 11, we got to go back 3 verses. That'll take us from verse 36, 35, 34. So let's start at verse number 34, okay? Verse 34 says, for who knows the mind of Yahweh or Adonai? Who knows the mind of the word? Or who has been the word's counsel? Interesting. Verse 35. Or who has first given to him the word, Adonai, and it shall be recompensed unto him again. Verse 36. For of him, Adonai, and through him, Adonai, watch this, it's Adonai our Elohim forever. Amen. Verse 1, chapter 12. I beg you, therefore, my brothers, because everything comes from the word. Everything falls from the instructions of Elohim. I know that we have been the emperor of Rome, but we are yet Israeli, and it is better for us to obey Elohim than man. And therefore, we have been beseeching, or we have been negating our full responsibility. We've been taking it for granted. We've been doing it nonchalant. But I'm begging you. I know how we live in Rome. I am a Roman. I am also Israeli, just like you, who I write this letter to. Somebody say he's writing the letter to Romans. Come off mic and say he's writing the letter to Hebrews in Rome. Now, the average theologian is going to have a problem with that, but you can't have a problem with it because you know he's writing the letter to his people who live in Rome. He's not writing it to Romans. He's writing it to Hebrews, Israelis, Jews who live in Rome. That's who Paul's writing this to. He's not writing it to the emperor. The emperor may read it, but he's writing it to his people, Torah observant people in Rome. Now, let's watch closely for content so we can have the context rightly. I beg you, after telling us in verse 11, chapter 11, that all things are of the word. All things are of Adonai. Some of y'all don't believe me, so you grew up said, read it again. Romans 11:34. He says, for who hath known the mind of Adonai? Or who hath been Adonai's counselor? Verse 35. Or who hath first given to Adonai? And then it shall be recompensed unto Adonai again. So who gave it to him that it will come back to him and be recompensed to him? Okay, he's being sarcastic. Verse 36, for of Adonai and through Adonai and to Adonai are all things. Somebody shout Adonai my Elohim. Come on, shout it like you believe him. Adonai my Elohim. He says, for through of Adonai and through Adonai and to Adonai are all things, to whom be glory of Adonai our Elohim forever. Amen. Verse number 1, chapter 12, Romans 12:1. Look at what he says here. He says, I beseech you because of that, brethren. That's the word therefore. That's what the word therefore is stating here. I beseech you because of that, brethren, by the mercies of our Elohim, that based on Adonai's instructions, you present your bodies a living sacrifice. This presenting your body is to present yourself to the place he has given, according to Devarim 16:16, just to make things quick, short, and sweet. Leviticus 23, just to make things short and sweet. Present your bodies. In Rome, we have not been doing it as we're supposed to do it. We don't always go down to Jerusalem like we're supposed to. I know that because I'm Roman. So he says, brothers, I'm begging y'all. I know how we've been cultured since Malachi. I know how we've been cultured since Herod, before Yeshua's death, burial, and resurrection. I know how we've been doing things, but I'm begging you now. Since my road to Damascus experience, I am begging you now, brethren, my brothers who are Torah observant like me. Since my road to Damascus experience, y'all know me. Y'all know I went after this Yeshua. Y'all know I went to bring them down. You know I went to persecute and prosecute them. You know I even helped to execute one of them. I held Stephen's jacket while they stoned him to death. You know I'm going to arrest anyone. So y'all know for me to say this, I've had to have this mercy I'm begging on you. Because when I met Adonai, he told me that Yeshua is who he was in the earthen realm. My road to Damascus experience blew my mind. Now I'm writing to you because we got it wrong. So Romans, Hebrews, Torah observant individuals living in Rome, where I grew up in Tarsus, where I grew up in the provinces of Rome, listen to us. We have two conflicts: the government of Rome demanding of us, and then the temple worship we were under not giving us the full Monty of the Torah, though they talked about the Torah, but we by the halakha. We live by the Mishnah. We live by the Talmud. We live by the words of the sages. Because we did that, we did not get who Yeshua was. That's why we end up persecuting him. That's why we called him an imposter. That's why we called him blasphemous. But I beg you, by the mercies I've received of Adonai, when he met me on the road to Damascus, put me down on my belly while that great bright light of who he was shined on me. I knew it was him. I knew his presence. But when I looked up, I saw this flesh suit and I said, who? Wait a minute, something's different, Adonai. Who are you? He says, it is me, Yeshua, whom you've been persecuting. Oh, snap. Is that what happened? My bad. What would you have me now to do, my Adonai? And he gets up, he goes, his eyes are blinded, he goes down to some Gentile, gets his eyesight back, goes for 3 years in the wilderness of the actual Asia Minor. And when he's out there in the deserts of Asia Minor, he is being taught by Adonai, Yeshua HaMashiach, in some form of Christophany, however you want to put it. And that is how he now has had his mind transformed and renewing all the information that Gamaliel taught him while he was in temple worship with a zeal, but not according to knowledge. Somebody better shout, you preaching, man. Come on. Now listen closely to what this looks like, because it becomes very important, especially for those of us who have degrees. So when we understand that, oh, Paul was really writing to the Hebrews in Rome, he wasn't writing to Rome like Rome was a part of Asia Minor and the churches, he was now called the apostle to the Gentiles over. That's a whole different conversation. Rome isn't Asia Minor. Rome is over Jerusalem. When he goes to Asia Minor, he's going to Philippi, he's going to Corinth, he's going to Pergia, he's going to Galatia, those are Asia Minor. He's going to Galatia, Colossae, that's Asia Minor. That's the Gentile populace that he's over. But when he's writing to Rome, he's writing to Torah observant individuals who were born in Rome, because Paul was a Torah observant individual born in Rome, which means Rome was over the region. And Judaism was subject to Rome. And being subject to Rome, they began to take on the nature of Rome. That's why the word says, or people would say to you today, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do, no matter what your culture is. Somebody say, wow. It's okay. I'll just wait for you to say, wow. I'm going to stay right here until you say, wow. Okay, wow was good. So at the end of the day, you must understand what Paul has as an assignment in this writing. So Paul, Romans chapter 12, come, look at the writ. Romans chapter 12, verse 1, look at what he says. Paul says, I beg you, brothers, after I've helped to remind you that all things come of Adonai, all things come through Adonai, all things come back to Adonai, all things we have in the earth is because of the glory of Adonai, who Yeshua happens to be Lord of that glory, because Yeshua actually carried the Adonai in the earth and gives us access to the glory of Elohim, which is why I told Galatia, Yahweh, our Elohim, will supply all our need according to his riches in glory by our knowledge of Yeshua HaMashiach, who sits as bodyguard, who sits as the Lord of glory. So we can't get into glory without acknowledging and coming through the password, i.e. the blood of Yeshua HaMashiach. Then he presents us to who provides our grace, who provides our health, who provides our healing, who provides our hope, who provides our provisions. He presents us. We have access through Yeshua HaMashiach. Yeshua HaMashiach don't fix our problems. I just made every theologian who's come through any seminary very upset, some curious, some indignant, some wanting to know, but that is the fact. Yeshua gives us access. He is the way to the Father. Yeshua don't fix nothing for you. Yeshua fix your access to the Father. His blood. When Yahweh sees that blood of Yeshua on you, you in. If he don't see the blood of Yeshua on you, there's nothing that can be done. You got to get that part straight first. In order for you to be saved, in order for you to have access to him, you must first believe that Yahweh raised Yeshua from the dead. Pesach. Now, once you believe Yahweh raised Yeshua from the dead, you have access into glory, where Yahweh has all his riches. They're not Yeshua's riches. They're Yahweh's riches. But he does make Yeshua manager over a great deal of the riches. But to get involved to those riches, you got to come through the blood. You got to come through the I am the way. I am the door. I am the way. No man comes to Yahweh, the I am that I am, but by their knowledge of me. That's what Yeshua said in the earth. And that's what Yahweh said before. That's what Paul wrote in Galatia. So this isn't some weird thing. And this is what Joshua was saying. You can serve the forefathers the way you thought things was going down religiously before. But now you must understand that as for me in my house, I'm serving the word. I'm serving the Adonai on flesh. That's what I'm doing. So that's where we have to be. So when Paul writes in Romans chapter 12, verse 1, let's go there because I don't have any more time to talk about this. Romans chapter 12, verse 1 says, I beseech you, therefore, after I told you Romans 11, 34 through 36, because of that, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim that I myself have experienced, I beg you that you present your bodies. Get back to coming to the feasts. Get back to coming to Yom Kippur. Get back to coming to Yom Teruah. Get back to coming to the feast of SUKKOT on the 15th and the 22nd. Get back to presenting your body on Pesach, Hak Matzah, and Hak Bikurim. Get back to presenting yourself on Hak Bikurim and the Hak Matzah on the 21st day of Nisan. Get back to presenting your body in Shavuot, the Sivan 6. Get back to presenting your body to the Father. That's what the Father wants. When you present your body to the Father now takes your body and imputes his wisdom because you have come to, watch this, worship him. You have come to obey him. You have come because you comply with his instructions. And his instructions are Adonai. They are now here demonstrated by Yeshua HaMashiach as to how a person can be rewarded by the divine of all, the El Elyon, the El Shaddai, the Yahweh our Elohim. And when you begin to comply with the instructions and present your body on those timetables that Yahweh gave according to Leviticus 23, and then honor them out by, he said in Deuteronomy 16, let all your males appear before me, present your body. Let all your males appear before me, present your body. Well, that's just the males. No, if a male husband leaves, the wife is following. The wife follows, where the children going to be? They're going to follow. So when the males follow, that's a demonstration to the households how the father leads the family. So when daddy say we go, mommy's coming, mommy's bringing the children are seeing mommy and daddy following the father. They're seeing the father make the initial instigation to say it's time. I'm keeping the schedule. I've written the vision on the wall. Those of you who are following the vision, when you see the vision, you know we got to get ready for this. I told you that Yahweh said we got to be here on Tishri 1, Tishri 10, Tishri 15, Tishri 22. So we got to be there, prepare the house. When I get back from picking these fields, when I get back from bringing in these sheaves, when I get back from cutting up this meat, when I get back from doing all the stuff in the ground, let's make sure we're ready to go. Have your bags packed. We're out of here on these days. Mommy, help me. My bride, help me. My help me meet the goal of presenting my body to the Father in the days the Father has asked for. So presenting your body, Paul is telling you in Hebrew, in Romans, very clearly, he's talking about the feast. If you read further into this Romans writing, you'll see just which feast he's talking about. He's actually talking about all of them because he's talking to Hebrews who are of Roman citizenship. Let me help some of you Samaritans or some of you seminarians with this as well, because many of us preach the gospel but don't know the Bible we preach from. So listen to this closely. Paul is writing to Romans, right? The book is writing to Romans. But who in Rome would he be writing to? He is not writing, again, as I told you before, to the actual Roman emperor. He's not writing to Romans who have him in handcuffs. He's not writing to the Romans he's going to sit before. But here is the thing about his being in handcuffs. When Yeshua got arrested, let me help y'all to understand why this is important. When Yeshua got arrested, this is mind-blowing, and it scares me how many theologians with doctorate of ministry degrees don't get this. And you that have your doctorates like myself, and I've got two, I want you to make sure you go back and take your time to study. Don't master of the commentary they told you to master to get your degree so you can have an outlet to pastor. Learn the writ so you can live the writ, and people seeing you live it rightly will simply follow you. And they're not going to follow you to make you some great person. They're going to follow you because they know you got it. I want to get it like you got it. And then they can hold each other accountable, and we rock together. Yeshua never put himself out to be the high priest. Yahweh made him high priest because he followed the writ better than Aaron, the high priest he appointed. And now everybody in the world can see how you live the word unto death, and then the word will resurrect you for life. I think I said that too fast. I might have to go back and watch the video for that. Rewind that. So let's talk about Paul in Rome. Let's talk about Rome. Let's talk about Paul. Let's talk about what he's saying here when he writes this book to Romans. So here's the question. When Yeshua got arrested, I need somebody to come off mic and help me. Say your name. When Yeshua got arrested, where did they take him? I always do this. I always take the air out the room, don't I? My bad. Let me slow down. Let me slow down so our brains can catch up to it. That's not an insult. That's just something I think I need to do. Okay. So when Yeshua got arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, where did they take him immediately? Danielle, go.
They took it to the Pharisees.
They took him to a kangaroo court near the temple. Mm-hmm. Notice that, near the temple, where Caiaphas would meet them, and then they had that took him to the actual place to say, we who are a part of this, we who are a part of the temple, we the priests, the Pharisees, the Sanhedrin, we say that he is guilty. Send him now to Procurator. The Procurator who was, anybody know who the Procurator of Rome was? The Procurator from Rome for Jerusalem was? Does anybody know who that Procurator's name was? Come on, theologians. All y'all tell me y'all been through Bible school. All y'all preaching pulpits. Talk to me. Go, Veronica. Pontius Pilate. That's the Procurator from Rome over Jerusalem and that region. The Procurator from Rome is over King Herod of Jerusalem. I'm going to say it again. The Procurator from Rome, Pontius Pilate, is over the king of Jerusalem called Herod. Herod is in same plane, but yet over the kingdom of Israel and Judea, because the high priest is the church. The king is the state versus church. But the king, if the church, the state, if the church brings a case that says this person goes against the essence of our kingdom, i.e. our culture, i.e. our church, i.e. our faith, then they must be prosecuted by the state. So church is the Gadol Kohanim. Church is the high priest. The high priest says this man is blasphemous. He's calling him the God of our God. So therefore he needs to go. And let us prosecute him, persecute him, and if need be, execute him. State, here is someone we have convicted. So Caiaphas sends him technically to Herod. They don't send him to Herod. They judge him by the actual church. They send him to the Procurator, because usually if the church says he's guilty, then the king is going to say he's guilty. And before they can kill anybody, even though he's the king, they got to send him to Rome, who now oversees them. If anybody dies, you may say he should, but we're going to give the okay that it happens, so we can make sure that nothing weird is going on here in a region we now have over as a province. So Pontius Pilate is the Procurator. He is between the emperor and the kings of the regions he's over. One of those regions is Jerusalem. So before anything gets done by executive order, it must come through, though your culture says it should happen, We have to sign off on it. Tell us that this is your culture. Prove to us through your documentation that this is what must happen for a person of this charge. Some of y'all have never read that. Some of y'all never heard that. Some of y'all never been taught that in seminary and or in Bible study and or in Bible school and or in Bible college. And you need to go back and get that information, because the whole story of Pontius and Herod is so messed up. You don't understand why they did that jockeying back and forth in the night. So when the high priest arrested him, made a kangaroo court at night, judged him, sent him to procurator to be executed, thinking that they could easily bypass Herod because Herod was on board with them. They get there, Pontius Pilate says Herod's name ain't on this. I hear you, Caiaphas. I hear you, Pharisees. I hear y'all, but it don't make sense to me. So why y'all bringing this to me? Did y'all talk to Herod yet? Take him to Herod. This is Herod's issue. Oh, y'all not gonna talk to me now? Nobody gonna talk to me now. Take him to Herod. They run it back to Herod. Caiaphas is embarrassed. Yes, y'all didn't know that. He takes him back to Herod. The Pharisees are like, oh shoot. They go back to Herod. Herod's cool with it. But Herod says, hey, y'all already made your decision. Y'all tell me this man is wrong. Send it back to Pilate. Tell Pilate I signed off on it. But the fact that he went back to Herod, then back to the procurator, Pontius Pilate. Now it's in Pontius Pilate's court. This is how the pastors got ahead of themselves, thinking they could bypass leadership. Somebody say Elohim's the God of decency and order. Have I confused y'all? Have I given y'all too much information right now? Because I got to make this clean so that I can finish the point. I got 15 minutes to finish the point. Real simple point. But everything is by the word. So when Pontius Pilate gets now this Yeshua in his court, Herod signed off on it. Herod signs off on it. Why? Because Caiaphas signed off on it. Now Caiaphas got besides himself because he's so religiously indignant, like many of you will encounter with pastors and leaders in the church trying to tell you that the Torah and the word of Elohim and all of this is not necessary to be followed. Okay, prove it. And so when you can circumvent and do a kangaroo court and do a execution by the mob, you circumvent the process and the balance for the civilization you live in. Now, the Judean civilization is overshadowed by a Roman occupation. So they have something to say about it. And even if Jerusalem was not under Rome and they came for Yeshua the way that they did, they should never crucify him because the high priest said he needs to die and not get the signature of the king. Do y'all see how out of order all of this was? Do y'all see how out of order all of this was? I heard you, dear heart. We're gonna come to you. I'm not ignoring you. I just got to get this out of my system before it stops. I want to make sure everybody gets this, because this has to do with SUKKOT. This has to do with the Moed'im. This has to do with what does Paul mean when he says present your bodies a living sacrifice. So how do we know that Paul is writing to Romans? When they arrested Yeshua, I needed you to see who was really in charge and who had the final say. Though Caiaphas arrested him, he can't do anything with him until the king signs off. And since the king of Judea, Israeli nation, is under occupation of Rome, he can't kill him unless he has Rome's sign off. Please, people, pay attention. Now, Paul, under the order of Caiaphas, who is automatically locked in with Herod, sends Paul to persecute anybody who's teaching what the man they crucified is teaching. Now, Paul understands protocol and process. Paul knows I can't do nothing except I get signatures. That's why Paul went back to Caiaphas and said, I will track down everybody who's teaching what Yeshua said. I just need a letter from you that I can do it. Did y'all ever dig this deep into the storyline? Or did y'all just go off with Jesus died on the cross and Paul met this great light? See, because if you did that, then you don't know what Paul was writing to when he wrote in the book of Romans. You're never going to read the book of Romans the same way again. Because Paul is not writing to Gentiles. Two books, the apostle of the Gentiles, Paul, as we've dubbed him, is writing to and writing that are not him writing to the Gentiles. One of them is the book of Hebrews. The second book is the book of Romans. The book of Romans and the book of Hebrews are in an entirely different context than Galatia, Corinth, Thessalonica. Is my passion too much? Let me calm down. So Paul making this statement, brothers, I beseech you by the mercies of Elohim that you present your body. He is not writing this to Gentiles. He's writing this to those who know the Torah. And because he's under Rome, he's born in Rome, when Yeshua got arrested, they could persecute him and prosecute him right there. Listen, right there in Judea, which is what was done, on Golgotha, which is what was done, and all they needed was to know that Rome knew that they were crucifying someone in their Jewish citizenship. Listen, y'all. Why do you think it's important to keep saying that Yeshua HaMashiach was from Galilee? Answer this. Come on, theologians. Why do you think it was important that Yeshua kept being called Yeshua of Nazarene, Yeshua of Galilee? Come on, talk to me. Because that at that time was out of Roman dominance. So Yeshua, no matter how you look at it, whether he was down in Bethlehem, at the time Rome took over, yada, yada, that took place, but he was up in Galilee. He is not from down here. Just like y'all don't know that he was living in Egypt for at least 13, 14 years. Then they moved up to Galilee. Egypt wasn't under Rome. Yeshua was born in Jerusalem, but he was born in Bethlehem. But his citizenship, when he was up in Galilee, they came from Galilee to have him down there in Bethlehem. He came from Galilee to have him down in Bethlehem. Their narrative, their land, their culture was Galilee. Then they went to Egypt. Then they went back to Galilee, and Yeshua came into Jerusalem for his ministry. 3.5 years for the last part of his life. So his citizenship is not Roman. When Paul gets arrested, it's a different story. Yeshua gets arrested, and he is subject to whatever Jerusalem and his bloodline says got to happen to him. When Paul gets arrested, what does Paul do? Paul doesn't get jerked down to the temple, who, by the way, gave him a letter to go persecute anybody under Yeshua, who now he's rescinded that order, bailed out on that contract, and now they want him dead, Paul. So Paul gets arrested by the same Sanhedrin that arrested Yeshua. But Paul knows his rights. Paul says, I'm not like Yeshua, though I now have him inside. I have Adonai in me that was in him. He says, now that you are here, now that you are there, watch what he says. Come on, y'all talk to me. It's word quiet. Where y'all at? Y'all not talking to me no more?
Patricia. Yeah, Apostle.
Now keep listening. I got you, Patricia. I want to make sure this gets out. I want you to understand this, that when Paul goes and gets arrested by the Sanhedrin, Paul has a card he can play in his pocket that Yeshua didn't have. When Caiaphas and whoever the high priest was in that time, Gadol Kohanim was in that time, they went to say, Paul, you are going to be persecuted. We are going to send you to Herod. You know Herod's with us. He's going to secure you. Then they're going to send you to the procurator, and the procurator is going to be able to do it. He says, yeah, but here's the catch. I'm also a Roman citizen. So I have the right to have my case heard in Rome. Now y'all know why Paul was arrested and drug all over the region to get to Rome. Let me stop here. I'll talk about what I came to talk about. Pat, what you got?
A lot of what I was going to ask about, you've already basically covered. But my first question was, my understanding that they could not, when they did that court, they could not kill Yeshua. Because I thought it was that they didn't have the authority, and basically you just said it because of being under control.
Correct.
But Paul was sent out to kill, to prosecute the followers of Yeshua. He killed, tortured, and whatever. So
It depended on where they were. But okay, you got each. Okay, so each case is different, Patricia. You got to understand that. So when he went out, check your mic for a second because you got a background noise. When Paul got that letter endorsing him as a servant, deputizing him as a Levite of authority under the Gadol Kohanim based on the religious portion. So when he went into different areas who did not have Torah as the dominant, but people fronting or doing Torah stuff, under this Yeshua, he had the right to say, hey, you're under arrest for impersonating and propagating our faith system, not according to our faith system. Y'all need to learn the culture. So when Paul does this is all in church history. This is why you got to go back. Y'all, we got to go and learn this. When Paul does this, we don't have to go and learn it. Thank God you got people like me and others who do know this. We can share it with you, but it's good for you to go learn it, everybody. But when Paul does this, he takes that letter, he goes under that deputizing, he now can arrest anywhere he's at. He has to bring them back to Jerusalem. Now, in Stephen's case, they are in a region that's under Israeli reign. This sanction that he has given by Caiaphas, he brings them back. The people do certain things, they sanction it, they stone him. That's because of the way that Paul had them gathered in that region. Some stuff goes hush, hush, quiet, quiet. As long as he's dead, ain't nobody said nothing. All of us threw stones. What you gonna do? You want to start a big? If we all killed him, then Rome, you need to back up. We here under y'all Rome, but if we all stoned him, this is our issue. We handled it. What you gonna do? Bring us all up on charge? So there's a lot of politicking that goes into that. That's why Paul getting that letter of endorsement, that letter of performance, and that deputizing is so significant. So I don't have time on this broadcast to go into all the dynamics of what Paul did when he did that, but if anybody's ever followed the church history, and I don't mean the Roman church history, I mean the Church of Yeshua HaMashiach history, and that ties into the church history where Rome does a lot of stuff, but Paul particularly on this road to Damascus and the experience that goes on and the elements that took place, you have to understand how the law of the halacha, not the Torah, works. So when Paul does what he does it under the order of the actual Gadol Kohanim, which is sanctioned by the king of Israel, the king of Judea, and that already has had the sanction from the Roman oversight. But Paul typically would bring them back to Jerusalem and then go out like a bounty hunter and find more. Paul was a bounty hunter. Some of them, like Stephen, like, I ain't going nowhere. All right, well, you're going to die right here. You ain't going to stop me from doing this, but you're going to die right here. Make sense, Patricia?
I got it. Thank you.
But does it make sense?
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Okay. Here's my issue. A lot of people say I got it, and they say I got it so they can go back and then take it and try to take it apart and then come back and say, oh, you're wrong. Okay, I want you all to study this stuff for yourselves. It is my joy to start you on a study path. But if it's going to take you outside of what is necessary and elementary for your salvation, don't waste your time in these last days. You have people who've done enough study, and I do mean real talking to real people who are historians, talking to real lawyers of the faith who understand it and have had literal platform debates and understand this stuff for real. So here's the catch. Great question, great ad, and I hope that it valued everybody. So the reason I took us there to that place of why Paul's statement is so important is because I wanted you to know that Paul is writing to Romans he's writing to Hebrews in Rome because he is a Hebrew who raised and was geared up in Rome. Now, being a Hebrew, you are Torah observant because there's a lot of people in the provinces of Rome who are polytheistic, not monotheistic to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'll say it again. There are a lot of people in Rome who are polytheistic, meaning they believe in the mysticisms of the Grecian, Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, all of that. They were all into that, Hermes, all of that. Because y'all gonna learn. Y'all preaching the gospel, and if you don't get a degree in demagoguery, you can't preach the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach, which is some for real tomfoolery to me. I gotta preach like Hermes to preach the life and love of Adonai over me? A demigod to prove my God? I got to teach like a demigod to show and share my God. For real. The devil's smoking crack in somebody's kitchen and y'all feeding it to us. That is not how this works. You having the degree in hermeneutics does not have you the authority to preach the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach, the God of all gods, who told you do not have another God before me, and you're going to bring a demigod subject matter into a place that you're talking about the God of all creation. If we miss that going into our higher education, going into our matriculation to greatness, then we have missed more than we thought. You ain't got to say amen. I'm just going to keep moving. You said you're not hearing me? Can they not hear me on Facebook? Talk to me, Facebook. Y'all can't hear me anywhere? Okay. Yeah, we do have wind. We talked about that earlier. If y'all came in late, I don't have time to go back over. You should have been here early when we made the announcements. All right, so here's the catch. And I don't say that disrespectful. I said it in love, but right now I'm in a vein to teach this teach. I got to get this done. I've only got 15 minutes to finish it. This is, well, 20, but I want to be done at 15. Here's the catch. So, do you now understand that Paul is not under the same arrest that Yeshua is under, though he is subject to the same execution? Do y'all get that? Y'all see Paul's different dynamic than Yeshua's? Am I talking too loud? Talking too fast? Okay, I'm gonna act like nobody's here. I'm not gonna ask questions. Or if I do ask a question, it'll be rhetorical. Don't worry about answering it. But I'm gonna ask them because it's just the way I teach. So Paul is not like Yeshua in the sense that Paul's citizenship is Rome and he is Hebraically Israel. The elements of him being Hebraic and Torah observant and being seen with Gamaliel and being seen under the dictates of Caiaphas, the high priest. With that being said, they already associate him with Jerusalem and with not with Jerusalem and the temple. Therefore, he is under the temple rules. However, Paul pulls a card that everybody can't pull. Paul says, I am also a Roman citizen. So I'm not really subject to your final say, Jerusalem. How many of y'all knew that? And I want y'all to tell me the truth. This is not rhetorical. I'm going to wait for a response for that one.
You taught us that one.
Okay, I taught you that. My bad. Okay, so anyway, Paul is saying, I don't have to listen to your final response because I know how y'all going to judge me. Y'all already got me dead. So I'm taking this to Rome. So the emperor himself, as a citizen, he has to see me. He didn't have to see Yeshua, but he has to see me because I'm a citizen of Rome. Now y'all understand how the book of Romans is written. If I've not done anything in this hour, well, 37 minutes of telling y'all this and going through this whole process, it is to make sure that you understand Paul is not writing to citizenship of Rome that is not Torah observant. He's not writing the book of Romans the way he wrote the book of Galatians, Thessalonica, Corinth, Philippi, Ephesus. He's writing that book as he did the book of Hebrews. He's writing to Hebrews in Rome because he was a Hebrew in Rome. So when he comes back in Romans chapter 12, now you understand the emphasis and the significance of his conversation. I'm going to put the Bible up on the board so you guys can see it. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies that have been extended to me of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. I want you to present your bodies the way that the instructions tell us. Adonai told us. Adonai wrote it out. Adonai came in flesh and lived it out. When we honor this word of Adonai, we return like Yeshua to sit in Adonai's seat because we are now in him. He is now in us. So I beg you, I beseech you, I have literal prayer for you that you, brethren, no longer be lax, lackadaisical, slothful, no longer be up and down, temperamental. Make it your business to present your bodies on the days that Yahweh has asked us. Christianity in our churches have us believing that that's just the way you act out in public, and it does, but you can't act in public how you have not learned in private. I'm going to say this out loud. Look me in my eyes. You can't act in public how you have not been trained in private. Yahweh wants your privacy. That's why he gave you Shabbat. That's why he gave you the Moed'im. Come to them. I can privately train you in the privacy of your own home, not at your church where you call the house of God. That's not where training is being done. Training is being done when you are in the Moed'im, when you are in the Shabbat, when you are in the Torah during that time. It's just like any child with any parent. Do you train your children how to live when you go to church? Or do you train your children at home in the kitchen, in the front room, in the basement, in the backyard, in the loft? Do you train them at home how to clean the house? Do you train them at home how to take out the dishes? Do you take out the trash, clean the dishes? Do you train them at home how to make their bed? Do you train them at home how to sit on a couch? Do you train them at home how to sit in a love chair? Do you train them at home how to sit in a rocker? Do you train them at home how to put your food on the plate, put that plate on a mat, put that mat on a table to eat? And you don't talk while you're eating. You don't open your mouth while you're eating. Where do you train them at? At church or at home? Rhetorical. You train them at home so that when they go out in public after church to the restaurant, they don't sit there and talk with spaghetti in their mouth and spit it all over the place because you can't control air and an open mouth with a fat mouthful of food. You train that at home. You don't train that in church. So then how would Yahweh teach his people how to be ambassadors in the streets? Oh, maybe David, maybe Moshe were right. When we dwell together with Elohim, when we come into that secret place, somebody say that's home. The secret place ain't your church. That secret place is literally your home with him. Well, the secret place is metaphorical, Mr. Apostle Man. You know, we can be in our car. Yeah, but you're private. And it's in my mind, yes, and it's private. You're not gassed up, hyped up by a public setting. The public setting that Yahweh sanctions that you should bring your body to is the one he gave us a commandment for. And when we get there, all are there on one accord with this one purpose to serve this one God. And we know exactly what we rehearsed for. At home, We come into that place, we give him preeminence in that place, we bring his word in the place we control, and we give him our glory. We render it to him. All that we've amassed, we render it to him. All that we are, we render to him. Use me as you will. Use whatever I've amassed as you will. If you can use anything, you can use me. Take my hand, Lord, at my feet. Touch my heart, Yahweh, and speak through me. If you can use anything I got in here, you can use it, Father. That's what we're doing with that. So when you understand this, him training you starts at home. Him training you is when you are with him in that secret place and you are abiding under the shadow of the Almighty. So the training is done at home. How does he do the training at home? He gave us his word. He said, when you're home with me on these days I select, Sabbath and the Moed'im, don't speak your own words. I don't want to know what Egypt taught you. I don't want to know what your state taught you. I don't want to know what your laws in your land are. I want to know what your church talk about. I want to know what your uncle and auntie and your favorite influencer is saying. I want you to tell me you know my word. I don't want to hear your own words. I want to hear Torah. Because when I hear Torah and you speak it, you recite it, I can tell you where you're reciting it in the way you need to understand it or you're not understanding it. And then I can show you what happened to you based on Torah. And then I can show you what may happen to you based on Torah. And this way you'll know how to apply Torah. So when you're home with him in private, he teaches you his instructions for life, his way. Then you go out in the public and you live it that way. So you can't present your body to the public unless you presented your body to Elohim in private. You can't present your body in public acting righteous, acting holy, if you've not learned how to do that in private. So Paul says, y'all, I beg y'all, present your bodies. Let's get back to presenting our bodies at the times Yahweh's going to be in the earth to teach us privately, to teach us within his kingdom. Oh, how good, oh, how pleasant it is when brethren dwell together as one. Dwell together in unity. Unity is the word of Elohim. Unity is from the Torah. Unity is the Adonai. So when we develop ourselves, we're developing ourselves in private to have a demonstration in public. And we can't have that demonstration in public unless we first have understood it in private. Then when we go out just being us, it comes out of us. It's just like sweat. Nobody knows what you're eating until you start sweating. Now, if you're around anybody like me who's a gym rat or somebody who's around me who does these types of things and training and coaching people, and as I'm coaching young men for football, basketball, track, whatever it might be, when I'm coaching them and I get close to them when they're sweating, I can tell that they've been eating soda pop, they've been drinking beer, alcohol, they even been smoking weed. I can tell them they've been eating, sugary stuff, because salty stuff, because your sweat's gonna come out of you. If it starts to ash up on you, you got too much sodium in your diet. If I smell you and you smell stink when you sweat, not just working out while you sweat, but you smell stinky and funky as you sweat, that means you're drinking certain things. You can tell where there's, you can smell the alcohol in the precipitation of what they are and in the things that they do. So with all of this being said, you gotta understand, you can tell what they're doing privately. Even though you don't live with them in private, you can tell what they're doing privately by how they're manifesting publicly. So all these things are necessary and you have to understand them for the sake of what you do and for the sake of, or not for the sake of what you do, but for the sake, you can understand it from, for the sake of what you do. If you pay attention to public manifestations, you can tell what's going on privately without them ever saying a word to you. So you can't present your body in public as holy and righteous if you haven't practiced holy and righteous in private with the Father. So Paul is saying, though we are Hebraic, though we are Torah observant, though we are in Rome and we should not be here, we did this, got ourselves here, I beg you, we get back to the private learning of Yahweh himself through the private times that Yahweh has given us, through the appointed times that he has given us. Therefore, because Adonai gave us the instructions, let's get back to taking seriously those instructions. I beg you, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. The word holy is Kodesh, Hebrew. Yahweh says, be ye Kodesh. is, and Chodesh is a Moedim. Be in the high holy day. Be in the days of my time. Be in the Chodesh of my Shabbat. And I am that. You be that. I'll be there. We'll both be holy together. We're not going to find our own reasons. We're not going to find our own purposes. We're going to come together for the one purpose of reading the holy word. Do not bring me your words. Do not bring me your complaints. Just bring me my word, and I'll make my word show you what you were complaining about. Show you what you should celebrate. Show you how you should operate. Show you what holiness looks like. Show you the etiquettes of the kingdom. It hits different. But because of what we do within the faith, we oftentimes think that my religion is pleasing to the Father. And if my religion doesn't line up with his word, then I'm just being religious. If I wake up every day and I drink a quart of alcohol every day religiously, and I call myself religious, I'm not lying. I am religious. Every day I wake up and drink a quart of alcohol religiously. Every day I do it. I don't start my day without drinking a quart of alcohol religiously. I'm not lying. I'm a religious person. Well, I'm a religious person, and you automatically think that they're obeying Elohim. Just because someone is religious doesn't mean they're obeying the words of Elohim. If I go in every day and I listen, here's another, let me make it clear. Let me make it clear. If I wake up and tell you every day I get on my knees and I read Psalms 23 every day, I don't brush my teeth. I get on my knees as soon as I roll out of bed every day. I got a pad right there. I got my Bible right next to my bed. As soon as I get out, I fluff my comforter and I put my Bible in front of me and I read Psalms 23, and then I get up and brush my teeth religiously. And that person says I'm religious. Yes, you are religious. That doesn't mean that because you read the Bible that you understand and serve the God of the Bible. You're just religious. And even if you're religious to the point where you tell everybody, I get up, I say Psalms 23 every single solitary morning, rain, sleet, summer, or shine, and then if it's Sunday, I go to church every Sunday. You're religious. Don't mean you saved. So that's what Paul was saying, guys. You got your mezuzahs, the mezuzahs on your houses. You got your menorahs in your homes. You got your kanaf on your and your tzitzits on your talit and talibatat. You have the scroll, but we're not presenting ourselves. We're not following the instructions that gave us the instructions to do those things, to put the word outside our house, to put the word on our talit, or to have the word and demonstrate it in the menorah, and have the scrolls of the Torah in our homes placed nice and neat in the corner of the house where we can pick it up when we want to and put it down when we're feeling better. Pick it up when we're feeling gloomy. Put it down when we're feeling better. We can do that all day long. That does not mean that we are living the life that pleases the Father. And just because you're religious doesn't mean you're saved. You are religious. You do this every day. You do this every moment. It is just an auto system, and that's what you do. But when you talk about being saved, you're just not doing it. You are observing it. You are understanding it. You are operating from its pure instructions, not your way of keeping yourself reminded of a God that can do X and so. But you are obeying the God who created X and so and whatever else you know. There is a difference, and that is what Christendom is having a problem with. We think because we're religious, we saved. Many of us have the Bible. We have a form of God. Because whenever you see a Holy Bible in a car, you see a Holy Bible in a purse, you see a Holy Bible on the screen, you see a Holy Bible here, a Holy Bible there, you automatically have a form in your mind of God-likeness. Many have a form. Everybody who owns a Bible has a form of godliness. But how many of us are denying the power inside that Bible? I think my passion's taking over. I gotta chill out. So let's get back to understanding the functionality and the practicality. And though we see it or not, we are demonstrating what Yeshua did. We're demonstrating also what Paul brought us back to doing. Not us, but he brought his Hebrew brothers in Rome, at least some of them, back to doing when he wrote Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Present your bodies. What was he talking about? He was talking about presenting your bodies back to the time and the place that Yahweh has set. And don't think I'm upset with anybody, but this is where I always lose. Christian theologians. They get angry initially, but within a year and a half, they always come back and be like, man, I didn't want to see it that way, but now that I've heard it that way, I can't see it any other way anymore. And I'm good with the 2 years it takes for that seed to plant and that seed to germinate and then that seed to spring forth. But that's what Paul was talking about. Brothers, present your bodies a living sacrifice. Kodesh, which is your reasonable service. The phrase reasonable service deals with a commandment for you. We know the commandment. We know what's reasonable. Everything for us that's reasonable is in the Torah. It's a reasonable thing. That's what Yahweh said we have to do. Don't appear before him empty. Present your bodies, all males. When males present themselves, their wives follow. When their wives follow, their children come. Manservants and men servants, priests and the whole thing. But let's get back to presenting our bodies to Yahweh the way we know to do, because we've been lax in that. I know, because even though I'm zealous, I know how we do. Brothers, let's get back to presenting our bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yahweh, who is our Elohim. Now, questions came. I'm not going to be able to get to it. But this is the preceding word. Do I have a moderator who will hold me accountable to tackle the practicalities of Numbers 29, Leviticus 23, Yoel chapter 2? I need someone to be accountable to the actual practicality of it. You know what? I can't do it. I can't wait because we're still in the day. Practically. Okay, let me go back to it. Quick. I can't do it that way. Numbers, come on. I got so much I want to share with y'all. I know what Yeshua meant when he says, I got so much to share with y'all, but you can't bear it all right now. And some stuff you got to let process before you put the next things on that top, and like a layering system. But y'all still with me, or have I lost y'all to monotone? Have I lost y'all to too much information? Have I made y'all throw up from all the stuff we fed y'all? All right, so how about I do this? I won't be able to get that done, because if I open this chapter up, it's going to be at least 30 minutes, and we don't have that kind of time. So here's my thing for you guys. I need a moderator to hold me accountable. That means your job is going to be to text me every day until Wednesday to make sure that we come back and we talk about, which our program is already scheduled for, the practicalities of the functionality in SUKKOT, as well as all the Moed'im. But I want you to make sure that I do not find a reason to deviate from those three passages I gave you. Numbers 29, which is what we're supposed to be dealing with, Leviticus 23, which is what we're supposed to be dealing with, and Yoel chapter 2 for this season, what we're supposed to be dealing with. So who will be one who will volunteer to help us help each other? Any moderator willing to do that? All right, well, thank you, Wanda. Okay, now, here's the catch for everybody else. Let's talk about Numbers 28 in general. I'll come back in very specific details with you on Apostle, what do you do in this season? So many of you know, and I need some of y'all to, I need y'all to interact with me on this one. This is not rhetorical. I need y'all to talk to me. Somebody, not the same person every time. I want y'all to make yourselves available. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 8 minutes, and I can do this in 8 minutes, but I need y'all to be as alert to this as I am. Jump on when I ask a question, say your name so we can chat about it. All right. So here's the catch. People will ask me, Apostle, what do we do with respect to the times of the feasts? Each feast season, you know, there's a sacrifice, right? You know, there's a presenting of your body. That's the big thing. Romans chapter 12, verse 1, we just dealt with that in absolute detail. Secondly, you now have the part where you do not come before me empty, right? So coming before him empty is instructions, as I like to say, prescriptions of Adonai to those of us who present our bodies. In presenting our bodies, our souls, we also present what Yahweh says as a seed to him. That is our meat offering, or our burnt offering, or our drink offering, right? Not a sin offering, that's been done, but our meat offering. And if Yahweh says, even for the sin offering, like in Pesach, for the sake of commemorating something far more than the sin offering, I want you to commemorate, memorialize this moment by rendering your lamb, though the lamb you're memorializing did away with the sin sacrifice. So when you give a sacrifice in Pesach, you're not giving a sin sacrifice. You're giving a memorializing of the sin sacrifice. And Yahweh commanded that. Does that make sense? I need 2 or 3 people to let me know that makes sense. Okay, I'll say it again. So we know we don't give a sin offering any longer, right? And Yeshua HaMashiach is the sin offering. So people have said, Apostle, then in Pesach, which is in the spring feast, Nisan 14, why do we give a lamb per household if the lamb per household is the sin sacrifice? Because Yeshua is the lamb, right? That lamb is the blood. That lamb is the meat. That lamb is with the bitter herbs. That lamb is with the unleavened bread. Why do we have to get that's the sin offering? Yahweh wants us to memorialize that, not render that as our sin offering. Memorialize the service that did away with your sin offering. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so people will ask, Apostle, what do we do now in this season? Because now we're bringing our offering. So do we give a lamb per household like we did in that? No, you don't give a lamb per household. You follow the instructions per season. Each season has a different blessing. Each season has a different offering of Elohim. Each season has a different burnt offering. Each season has a different drink or meat offering. And remember, those things are spelled out in the writ. I mean, absolutely crystal clear. You cannot mix it up unless you just don't want to believe it. And that's on you. You don't have to believe the sun is in the sky, but I promise you it is. Go out there without your shirt on and let it tell you what them brown spots are. Okay, so that will come from it. Okay, you ain't got to believe the sun out there if you don't want to, but it's out there. So here's the catch. Numbers 29 gives you this buffet of instructions about the sacrifices that are there. The thing about Numbers 28, the book of Bamidbar 29, I said 28, 29, and when you start reading it, you're in there and you can quickly, after verse 5, shut the book. You're like, I don't want to read no more. I don't want to read no more. I don't want to read no more. It's who's going to give a bull and a ram and a lamb and 5 bulls and 18 bulls and 27 bulls, and then you count backwards? Who does all of that? What is that about? Nobody. Anybody read it and just like, what the, who, the, when, the, shadabo, sha-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and start stuttering? Wednesday, we're going to explain that. Yeah, you look at it, you're like, how does one do this? I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do it. But I would have to teach you guys a separate class on how it gets done. Would you guys be okay if I took, I'm really thinking about just having KYC, because because at least you know how I teach. This kind of teaching would probably sink in and hit you better. I don't want to be, I don't want to, I don't want to sound elite, but I'm not sure everybody can handle it. You know what? Everybody, I'll make it available to everybody. I'm going to do a teaching, and I'll use every instrument and every manipulative that I can to help you guys, but I'm not doing it for people who are not committed to Torah observancy. If you just want to learn it so you can, view it. So we have to make this this has to be a class for lifestyle. I'll find a way to make it a class for lifestyle. Some people I was hoping they could help me do that have disappeared. They come, they go, they disappear. But I think I'm going to probably find a product, commit to it, make it a private room, private space, and then teach those by registration, no money, you pay nothing. But this class will not only help you with how you can honor the feasts, it'll also help you how honoring the feast will affect you financially and make you not ashamed anymore in the financial arena, in your children's college, in your life insurance. And if you want to learn how there is instrumentation in your banking system to help you comply with the feasts, help you comply with what Yahweh wants you to do. So simple, so plain, no stress to your life. Would you want to learn that?
Yes, please. I will. Please.
But I'm not sharing it with, like I say, looky-loos. Y'all know what I call looky-loos who, Apostle, he's a real good teacher. But I don't believe it ain't about all that. If you're not a believer, if you're not a liver of Torah, you're not a Sabbath keeper, you're not a Torah keeper, it's got to be by registration. So there'll be an actual quiz to tell me whether you are one who's doing this for real, because you've been living it. If you've been living it, you'll be able to answer these questions. If you're not living it, you won't answer the questions rightly. We'll know you're not serious, and I will decide whether you come or you go. Real talk. I will never deny you from learning Torah, but this technique to actually complying with it, yeah, that's only for those who are trying to live it. Unless you can convince me that, look, all right, I might not know the answers, but I'm completely convinced I want to do Torah observancy. That's where discernment comes in at. So let me finish this and get off of this. So what do you do now, Apostle? We are in the times of SUKKOT. Tishri 15. So let me stop that conversation. I'm going back to what started this conversation. I wasn't trying to sell a class, but Ruach said do the class, and I just gave you raw thoughts. I'll polish it and bring back as an announcement. It'll be in the threads. It'll be in the social medias, and you can sign up for the class. And we'll be doing it probably in the same month that we're doing, and it'll be a class in November. When November starts, we start teaching on the whole understanding of tithing and offering. I'm going to also then make this class available as a separate class, and you're going to have to come to this class because you want this class, and it's not going to cost you nothing but your time. And I'm going to give you something I've sweat, bled, and teared over to keep me compliant with it, and this way I'm not embarrassed when the feast comes up. So I'm going to be sowing this into your life. Please do not garbage or trash or trot over with your foot what this gift is going to be. So if you want to be a part of it, it's going to be separate from any other training, and it will be a class, and you got to be for real about it. And we'll put that out there. So that's done. Back off. We're done with that. We'll talk about that again later. But today, right now, I got 4 minutes. What do you do now that we're in SUKKOT? We're in the 15th of SUKKOT of Tishri until the 22nd of Tishri. We are presently 3 days into SUKKOT. We got 4 more days to go. October the 6th is at sundown is going to be the last day of SUKKOT. And so we know that the 15th, which was the 29th, we gave our lamb, right? 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 Okay. So people have asked the question, well, do we give a lamb per household like Pesach? No. Pesach is because of what took place in Exodus chapter 12. Every feast season, when you give an actual offering or a lamb, it is per responsible person. because your person has to go into Shamayim or eternal damnation. So each person, you can't get into heaven on my coattails, I can't get it on yours. You must bring your body. Just because I'm daddy, if my children are under the age of accountability, I bring them, they follow me, I make an offering for me, my children are with me. Once my children get grown and tell me they're grown, you're responsible for your own offering. And if I've led you up through the years, you know what to do. Train up a child the way they should go. They will not, when they get older, they will not depart from it. So in that context, then you become a responsible child, a responsible person earning your own income. You give your own offering. Okay. So on the 1st of Tishri, Yom Teruah, we bring our lamb. On the 10th of Tishri, we bring, if you are a leader, you bring that offering. If you are you bring your lamb. The 15th, which we just came out of, you bring your lamb per person, responsible person, right? Then on the 22nd, you bring because you come to the service, you bring your body and you bring your hands not empty with another lamb. Now, here's the catch. When you read 29, because you've been keeping Sabbath, you've been honoring him in his word, you've been coming to the place where you read his word, you hear his word, you understand his word, you walk with his word. Now you're reading the word without Apostle. Now you're reading the word without Apostle Walker. Now you're reading the word without Apostle Minister Jackie. You're reading the word without whoever. And now suddenly you're seeing this stuff in here about these offerings. It's like, well, what in the ham? I don't even eat ham, but what in the ham sandwich is this? And how do you do this? And all that. And you start reading it. Are we supposed to give all this? And then you get that conflicted. So my job is to make sure you understand what that looks like. Numbers 29, I'll break it down on Wednesday, is a montage of responsibilities, prescriptions, and offices. And they don't do a great job of showing you which ones, unless you are of that culture, who does what. There is a daily offering. So y'all think, oh, I got to give this daily offering to the temple, and I got to give this monthly offering to the temple. No, those are, in fact, based on the priests, what must be a continual burning. They draw it from wherever. And then there are also just thrown in there the feast sacrifices that each individual should bring. And yes, there are daily offerings that the individuals bring. Yes, you have a husband and a wife in a home with whoever is responsible still living on the compound and yet grown to be married and able to be married and given off, where every responsible person must bring a lamb. And yes, in SUKKOT, you put Mikra, and then there are also the daily offerings that you bring as you go about. That is something that I don't enforce with all of you unless you have read it yourself and you're like, Apostle, what is this? And then I tell you. Now, when I tell you and show you what the word says, because you already read it, you know I'm not lying to you, and it becomes your responsibility, and it becomes your pattern, it becomes your delight or not to obey it. I know that when you show up for the when you show up for the Kodesh Mikra, when you show up for the High Holy Day, then you make sure you don't come empty. Now, if you don't want to, between the 15th and the 22nd, comply, that's between you and Elohim. But there are so many people who say, well, I didn't know we gave a lamb every day. Yes, you actually do. However, I want to make sure some of you just coming into this stuff and those who've been with me a long time, we already know how to prepare for this. So we've been preparing for years. I make sure I get every offering in. How do I do it? I want to show you guys how you do it, and it's so much more simple than you ever imagined. But the issue is I don't want to share it with people who have this, I'm Christian, I don't think you're teaching right, and I don't think it takes all that because Jesus did away with all the offerings. You are a person who is uninformed, and I can help you with information and then show you how to do it, because if you knew how to do it, you'd have no problem doing it. You'd be like, oh, so there's a way out. There's a preparation period. There is an actual a compliance period. There is a process you follow. But once you get that process, man, your life is so much better. You can do it without flinching. And then you see the benefits that it affects on your credit. You see the benefits that affect in your in the things that you possess and how you operate. But it's not something I'm not casting these pearls before swine so they can just say, "Ooh, God bless me. I know how to do this now." Because some of the stuff All right, can you guys see me now? So, so what happened was the iPad dropped off, and it's not what we have any longer. So at the end of the day, I am here. Hi, sorry, we're back, but we're not back. How about that? Um, the way my internet is set up out here in these wide open places where there is no real space, this is what we have to constantly invest in every single solitary day and week. And we were talking to you guys long time ago uh, about um, how to do this. So I'm going to need you guys to participate because my iPhone is dead, so Clubhouse is gone. So if you guys know anybody in Clubhouse, could you tell them waiting in Clubhouse to end that room? You got me, Minister Russell? Are you guys hearing me okay? All right, awesome. You can suggest him to come over here to this version because I can't do any better any more than that. So with all that we do and what we're here for, I want to make sure that we are able to do this in an appropriate way. So now that we have what we need and we're back on point here with this, all right, good. To give you guys all over the globe in different areas, we try to consider what we do for you guys to make sure that we all can have a good view and all that stuff like that. Many people aren't as fortunate, and it does other things, but we want to make sure everybody is afforded certain things. So in general, you're in the feast season that when you've read through Numbers 29, you see what Yahweh requires, but because it's all thrown together almost as a hodgepodge, many people are not able to, in fact, discern what is taking place with the different types of offerings. And then it gets confusing because Numbers is like Leviticus, and it's just like reading a law book. And that, for me, was always like a problem, right? Because you're hearing the same things, you're hearing the same words and the therefores and the thous and herewith and all of that, and and you get, it just becomes monotonous and becomes mundane, and then it becomes boring, and then you're sleeping, and you got to get up and stretch your brain. But I want to break down Numbers 29 for you all so you can see it and what it meant when it was written, what it meant in its instructions, so you and I can do what is required of us in that season. So for many of you who just in a short answer want to know what do you do in this season, well, you bring a lamb daily. Now, I don't enforce that. I make sure that you bring a lamb when you come. But what lets Yahweh delight in you, because you know the 4 times to come, and that's a lot to teach the people we affect. And the frankness of the people we affect is that we affect Christians who have never read Torah. And then we start connecting Christianity to what it should have been connected to, which is Torah. And now we're intrigued. Now we're impressed. Now we're engaged. But to comply becomes, well, I don't think it takes. So now we still have ourself and our free will involved. So yeah, guys, I tried to explain it to you earlier that the wind is out here. There's nothing we can do about it. Sorry, I wish we had, even if we had wind deferring microphones, it wouldn't help. But we explained that earlier on at the beginning of the broadcast. If you came in late, you you pick up on it late. But everything that is inside of the instructions is for us, flat out. Everything inside of the instructions are for us. And when you look to make that compliance, when you look to bring those things into, you begin to manifest those things, as it were, you can see that being somewhat of a arduous task until you're taught how to lift that heavy load. And that's why I think it's necessary that we, as we do every year, show you how to lift that load that you now know Yahweh wants you or me to bear. And he then becomes your burden bearer, and we carry it the way he say carry it, and we operate it the way he say operate it, and then we can find the success that comes with it. So I believe, I don't know what the last thing was that you heard when we cut off, but I was trying to explain that in Numbers chapters 29, in Leviticus, we'll be talking about Leviticus 26 through 28 coming up in November. Every November we teach you about tithing, we teach you about offerings. But because we're in the season of Sukkot and so many questions have come in, do I give a lamb? How many lambs do I give? Do I give a bull? Some of you don't give bulls. Some of you do. Some of you don't give rams. Some of you do. And depending on when you and what you have read, but everyone brings a lamb. Everyone brings the lamb. Everyone brings first fruits when you come to the sanctuary as prescribed. So when you come to the sanctuary as prescribed, his sanctuary where he put his name on it. Today, in our modern day, it's not the temple that got tore down in AD 72 or the temple that was then tore down in the last holy war between Islam and Catholicism and Judea. Um, it's got nothing to do with the temple. It has everything to do with where he puts his name. He put his name on you. And so where you gather and we gather for the word, for the process, for who he is and what he is, that's what we do. That's how we operate. That's where we operate. That's why we operate. That's what we do. And so in making our lives compliant, my job is to show you what the word says, get you as close to the word as I can, and then you have to continue reading. And when you start reading and seeing things that are like, wait a minute, are we supposed to be doing this? Once you ask me that question, now I can answer that question for you. I can only show it to you, but until you ask, I'm not going to just, this is what you're supposed to do. And many people like that because we live in a microwave society within Christendom. And we think that everybody's just supposed to tell us what to do, and everybody's supposed to just make us, do it. And I'm never going to make you do anything, but I'm going to show you what his word says. And when you see his word, thank you, Yolanda. When you see his word, and then you start operating because of his word, you now are delighting in him. I'm finding that over these decades of teaching Torah, when you tell people this is what you're supposed to do and this is what it is, they will do it because you told them. And when you're telling them is not that you're telling them to do it, they do it because you told them, and it's not because they believe internally. It's because they believe externally. They believe this is how you get blessings. They believe an external thing that, oh, this is about blessings. These sacrifices are about lifestyle. So when a person has begun to dig into the lifestyle, not dig into the blessing plan so they can hack into blessings, when they begin to live this life, when I began to live this life, I began to do the instructions of my life giver. And there is where there's a humongous difference. So for people who will read into the writ because it's now their lifestyle, they're going to ask questions. When they ask those questions, we're right there to answer them. No different than when you and I talk about all the time being able to teach the gospel to people. And when you teach the gospel to people, you have to first live it before they can really properly inquire about it. And if you are inquiring because I just want God to bless me, I just want God to give me a reset on life, then it never pans out. It never pans out because you're going to quit. You're not going to follow through. He who endures to the end, the same shall be saved. So we think we can come in on Sunday, hear a word that sort of kind of is poignant and profound, and I'm going to try it. You can't try this. You got to do this. This ain't about something you try because, well, I think this might work for me. Or, well, they say this, they say God will bless you this way. This ain't a trying. This is an actual lifestyle. So when you are in these kind of teachings and you've begun to live this kind of life, you will be digging into the writ yourself. And then you'll come across stuff that make you go, what did I just read? Hey, apostle. Hey, prophet. Hey, what are we? Yeah, that's what it says. At that point, it's up to you to comply. I do. So when you see it and you ask me the question, I give you the answer. I'm doing that. I'm not going to force it on you because I know the enormous impact it has on that psyche. And like, I am not ready for this. Yes, you are. You just don't know how to go about it because you have your way of thinking, the traditional ways that the world wants you to see it, the traditional ways the world wants you to you default to. Okay, the author Grice says, I was curious how to give the meat and the drink offerings, and I have a better understanding based on what you just said. Because let me help you out with the meat and the drink offering. The drink offering isn't just like a drink offering. The meat offering isn't a meat offering. Actually, the meat offering is a grain offering, and the burnt offering is a meat offering, meaning you sacrifice cattle, right? And then it's almost like cooking a whole meal. It's really funny. That's why they're called feasts, because Yahweh in the giving, you have meats, sometimes cheeses, vegetation. You got meat and potatoes. You got grain. You got bread. You got wine. You got drink. You got a whole meal when you do the sacrifices rightly. What you say, I know it blew my mind too, but I'm not sharing that with people who just want to come to church and hear some new revelation and try to go and preach it. This is for people who are living it and encountering it along their life steps. Like, hey, did I just read that right? Yeah, you did. So you mean we're supposed to? Yes, we are. That person, you're delighting in Elohim. Now, once you just come because, oh, well, this is popular, a lot of people are showing up and I'm hearing these dates around, so let's go see, because I know this person can teach it really well. Let me go sit with them during the season because we're invited, everyone's invited. But there's only certain things you get when you are sitting with Messiah privately. Not me, I'm not Messiah. I'm trying to give an analogy. When the apostles would be going around as Talmudim with Yeshua, they'd go from town to town, and when they were at the times of the actual feasts, Messiah would be in the synagogues teaching, right? However, when they were not in feast season, he would be teaching in cities, and people would gather, massive numbers of people would gather. He's breaking down principles and breaking down a lot of the fruit. But when he would get privately with his Talmudim, he'd break down the seeding, he'd break down the essence, he'd break down the reasoning. That's where we are now. So once you start keeping these feasts, and now with your lifestyle, now we can get into the reasons for this. We can get into why that's done, and this is what that looks like in Elohim. And it is a completely different environment when you do it that way. It is a completely different life and effect when you do it that way. Because when you give stuff to people, they don't understand it because they're not living it. They throw it down, they give up. I'm not wasting it. And I'm told not to cast pearls. You finish it. Because at the end of the day, when you have no desire to complete this journey, you have no desire to endure, then you're not really his sheep. You just doing it because it's popular. I want to be his sheep, but I'm not willing to do what it takes to be his sheep. I want to be his son, his daughter, but I don't think I got to do all of that. And that's cool. You've been given free will. You are your own moral free will agent. You have the choice to do what you want. For those of us who are actually living this, it's funny when you look at a house on an MLS listing. I'm jumping around, but I'm still in the same vein. When you look at a house on an MLS listing, you see green grass in the picture. You see painted siding. You see eaves. You see windows. You see doors. All of them you can change out, right? But once you buy that house on the MLS off that picture, you now start walking in the grass that you saw as green. You realize that it was in a photograph green, but in real life there's different shades of green because you have weeds that have a different weed green. You have blades of good grass, and if you got, like we have here in Florida, you got sod. You got different types of sod you might be able to get by with in the same yard, but they're all different. But on a picture in a distance, it looks green against concrete, against wood, against asphalt. It looks green. Oh, that's manicured. But when you start walking it, it's your lifestyle. You start seeing the weed. You start seeing the problems. You start seeing the swampy, mushy areas. You start seeing the areas you need to start making a difference in. You start need to see the area that, okay, this needs to be better. Now, it looks good from the street. It looks good for curb appeal, but I'm living on it. And I know it's not everything that it looks like in the picture. That's a person trying to be in this lifestyle. I'm keeping the feast, curb appeal. I'm keeping the Sabbath, curb appeal. But when I get into compliance, that's me walking the property, absorbing the property, being responsible for the property, and beautifying the property. It'll always look like it looks from the curb, but it's different when you leave the curb view and perspective and come into the lifestyle. Is that good, y'all? Are y'all learning anything? I think we might have a stalled and slow response, slow transmission. Uh, but I'm hoping I'm not wasting your time. Definitely not wasting mine. I got so much to share with y'all. I just can't give it all to you until we get certain subjects down. And one subject layers the next subject, and then layers the next subject. So I just hope that that's good. So lifestyle. So for those of you who really want this to be a lifestyle, yes. Can I be honest with y'all? Can I have a moment of honesty and transparency with y'all? I need permission. Ponder on that. You're right. There is no, if Yahweh says this is to be done forever, yeah, it's to be done forever. People who say it's been done away with is because they're Christians who believe that the Old Testament was for the Jews. And if you think that or say that, I repeat, if you say the Old Testament were for the Jews, not you, I mean in general, not you, I mean in general, that person, those people, those mindsets indict their ignorance and yet embrace with a great deal of conceit their carrying out of that ignorance and believe that they have plateaued to all wisdom because the way they're doing life and the way they're doing religiosity is the way that pleases the Father, and you never read the instructions or you never followed the instructions. Do this forever because you thought it was for the Jews, so it don't matter to you. But the fact that you think that the Torah was given to a Jew, not you, Ponder, but in general, any person who thinks that the Torah was given to a Jew is an indictment of a grand deal of ignorance. Ignorance simply means you are very unlearned. You do not have all the information, and you're unlearned. You're ignorant, and it indicts ignorance. Indicts entitlement. That's why if you don't understand cultures and you're speaking phraseologies and idioms, like we just had a matter this past week, um, just Sunday actually, and I had to repent to my, you know, uh, descendants of Jamaican, culture, uh, because we use some of the same phrases in our culture, but in that culture it meant something different, a bit more vulgar. And for me, it was just a nothing, just something we just say. And once you realize you've done that, your entitlement to think that you saying something in your language is okay in another language, and then vice versa for that other language to think that we said that to offend you because you're from that language. We didn't know it meant that in that language. We didn't know it meant that deep. We didn't know it went that deep in that language, in that culture. You know, both parties are at fault. My demonstrating it, knowing that I'm talking to a broad amount of cultures, I'm not, as it used to be years ago, I'm not on my block, in my neighborhood, with my dialect speaking of English alone. We are speaking to the entire world. Church is when you are gathered with your people in your locality. Kingdom is global. And when you're talking in kingdom, you have to be conscious other cultures, certain phrases, certain idioms may be phonetically the same, but inherently, definitionally, or and defined different. Can I give you a quick example of that? I need a yes, a thumbs up, or something before you think I'm just trying to be deep. I need a yes or a no. Okay, I'm gonna give it anyway. Remember when Yeshua hung on the cross? When Yeshua hung on the cross, there was a cry that everybody talks about every Good Friday service in Christendom across the globe. And they would say, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Everybody at that scene of the cross believed that Yeshua phonetically was being Hebraic in his delivery. But Yeshua phonetically was being Aramaic in his delivery. But Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani is said in both languages, Aramaic and Hebrew. So because David was Hebrew and he was the descendant of David, he was being judged and killed by Hebrew speaking Jews. They thought he was speaking like David spoke in Hebrew. Eloi, Eloi, God, God, my personal God, why have you forsaken me? Now, David's crying of that was under an entirely different scenario. So when David cried, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, he was saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? I served Saul, he want me dead. I served Saul to defeat the Philistines. They rightfully want me dead, and other nations. So now you got me, after you anointed me with oil, out here running around like some peasant, third world, to be killed by the people you told me to serve, by the people you told me to have, based on our country's needs, killed. And now I'm hiding in caves trying to dodge everybody. I can't come out at in the daytime because I gotta walk around at night so nobody can see me. Why have you forsaken me? That's David's Eloi, Eloi lama sabachthani. When Yeshua's on the cross, they think he is phonetically saying Hebraically that. But no, Yeshua cut his teeth on Aramaic. Yeshua cut his teeth because he lived in Egypt. In Egypt, they spake the Aramaic. So when he comes back to Jerusalem, is now being persecuted by Hebrews, Islam, and or Aramaic, I should say, and Hebraic languages are sister languages. They have different definitions, but the phonetics of them are oftentimes very easy to determine what you're trying to say. So they're sister languages, but in this instance, Eloi, Eloi, Father, Father, personal God, my personal God. It's not a why have you forsaken me like David Hebraically cried. It is a Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, for this reason have I come. So in Aramaic, it means something completely different than in Hebrew, but it's the same phonetic. So when I said what I said the other day, for me in my culture, it's something we say, though shock and awe, but not with the brevity of vulgarity that another culture uses that same phonetic, uses that same phraseology. I hope y'all got that. So when we understand that kingdom is global, church is local, we were taught and told, well, you just do this. When you are listening and when you are understanding Torah, the Torah was not given to Jews. And for people who think they understand that, to say, hey, the Torah was given to Jews, don't, abide by that. You don't have to keep the feast. It's something that's not done. We don't have to do that forever. Well, the Torah says we do. The Torah says we should. It's something that's been done forever. And the Torah was not given to the Jews, even though the Jews use the Torah more than any other group that does. However, it was given to Israel, and Israel divided. Israel splintered off. Israel became two different nations, but also they became a myriad of different people, controlled by a myriad of different people. Even when Yeshua showed up, that area is under Roman control, not Jerusalem. Rome let them exist in a way under their culture, but to Rome's advantage. So if you don't understand that before you start reading your Bible, you think you are informed. And if you're informed, you're not ignorant. But if you're uninformed, that's what ignorance is about. So I want us to really grab that so we don't have to keep going back and forth with what ignorance is. And again, if you do not understand something, that is a level of ignorance. If you do understand something, that is a level of knowledge at best, and possibly wisdom if lived out. Knowledge, if you're looking at it from the streets, curb appeal. Wisdom is when you're living in what they're looking at from the streets, and though it looks nice from the streets, there's still room for improvement because you're seeing the grass you're walking in, you're seeing the corners of the house, you're seeing where the eaves are separating and you got to get some caulk, you're seeing where the windows and double panes are sort of kind of loosening from the pressure, you might have to change the windows out, you're seeing where the door jams, they need to be nailed back in, you see where you got different things happening, termites have sat in the yard, you're seeing all these different things. And that's the difference between lifestyle and religiosity within these concepts of keeping the feast, keeping the faith, and doing things Elohim's way. Whew. I don't want to say I'm talking too much, but I hope that I'm helping a little bit. And some will say, man, you're all over the place when you're teaching. No, the word takes you all over the place. And that's the word teaching. There's a big difference. Well, we need to learn like this. No, that's the way you need to learn. Others don't have to learn that way. And some come in and some move out. But the point is, when you, if you're there, well, I ain't got time to be sitting there and listening all that day. Then keep moving. Just you came here. We didn't come for you. And we want you to learn. You're welcome. Don't get here and then believe that, oh well, you ain't doing it fast enough, you ain't telling. It's for who's ready for it. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So you're probably not ready yet to be taught. Well, I want to learn. Okay, you want to learn, but you're not ready to learn. So with that being said, as a beautiful segue, thank you, Ruwa. Everybody reading the Bible does not understand biblical things. So when you start living this life and you're introduced to it, it's a curb appeal. Oh, I really like that. I want to live there. I want to be there. Help me get across the street. Help me get in. And once you get in, you see it still has its beauty. It still has its solid structure. It's a great freaking place to be. However, I do see areas that I can improve where the paint is uneven. I see maybe, is that a crack in the foundation? I need to get that straightened out. I see where the weed pockets are in the grass. I see where the area is subject to flooding. I need to change that, get that graded. I see where the eaves need caulking. I see where the gutters might be hanging, need to be resecured. I see also where some of the shingles on top of the roof need to be changed. You see a lot. But from the curb, man, it's still a great place, no matter what you say. But once you're living in it, to make sure it lasts, you start paying attention to the details. That's living in it. So when other people come to visit in it, those living in it are never ashamed. But those visiting will always covet it. They may come back and hang out as many times as you open the door, but won't go home and do it in their own home. They'll come to yours because you live in it a certain way. Man, I come over here, you always got these things tight work. Well, you see the end result of the work we keep putting in. So the day you saw the cracks gone, they were there 2 days ago, but you weren't here. We got those filled and painted over. By the time you got here, you don't see them. And tomorrow you might see all the screens messed up and old and brushed out. Next week you come back, I'll have those screens redone and the grooves and the grounds and everything straightened out and solid. And you will pay attention to that, or you might not. You didn't recognize coming over here because we let y'all come in the front door that in the back area we got a little bit of a buildup of water because the grading is not right. But it looks like grass because we got a lot of land, and you look at the primary element of green. But when you get inside here and look out this window, and you're looking from an elevated place, oh, I see the swampy area you're talking about. How are you going to fix that? I got to dig all that up. And now I got to go in and regrade that. You see, that's what happens with you guys who started keeping feasts and then Sabbath, and you started living this life. And in living it, the life, as you read Torah, as you're reading through Torah, he shows you Torah abundance, Torah compliance. And you're like, well, I got here based on the curb appeal and I'm liking it, but I didn't see that part. But you know what? I'm here now. I want to be like that. I want to do what his word says to do. I want to be in complete compliance. I have come a grand and far way from where I was before, but I want to be better. I want to be like that. I want to do exactly what they're doing. If they can do it, I can do it. Somebody need to say that right now. Type it in and say, if they can do it, I can do it. That's it. Torah. If they can do it, I can do it. And based on how they live in, They're doing it right. It'd be nice if we could catch up. We need to be doing what the word says to do. It's our job to do what the word says to do. And if we choose to do it, it's a benefit to us. If we don't do it, then that's a negative to us. And we are trying to be and have curb appeal. You ever been to something where you see it from a distance and it looks nice? You ever been in a restaurant where you see it, you even see the menu on the website and you see the pictures on the website, but then you go inside the restaurant and you smell bleach, it smells dingy, it's dark, it looks moldy. You see the reviews, but it's like not what I expected. Because that institution has its merits that they started with when it was fresh and new, and a lot of activity, and though there's a lot of business, they're resting on their laurels and they're not making sure it remains pristine. That's what you're doing when you're reading through Numbers and Leviticus. You're keeping pristine. Y'all ever have that experience? That's good. Yeah, like hotels as well. You get all this 4-star rating and you get there and it's like it's dingy, it smells mothbally, it smells old. And though mothballs are good, the rating says it should be something different, and you're getting it, but it's not what you signed up for. And these are the interesting things that go along with that. So it's just the same way in our spiritual life. You see something from the curb appeal is great. It's good to have curb appeal. But once you get into that place that drew you because of the appeal from the curb, and you start to see it, the image of the curb is still in your head. You're going to buy it. But when I buy it, can I keep it up like it was built? And that's what Torah helps us to do. Many people come to Sabbath keeping and, I gave the feast. Well, I gave what I could. Okay, fine. I didn't take time off. I got here when I could get here, and God knows my heart. He do. He knows that you won't listen to him and obey him fully. And that's something that you got to be careful stating, because people think you're judging them. You're not. The word judges us. So how do we do what he says do? So those are the questions that I love to get when the feasts begin. Many of you have asked them, and yes, you have the sacrifices that Elohim has put forward. You give them. You give them to him. You don't give them to a man. You give them to him. He tells you where to give them. It's not the where you're giving them that's important, as much as it is that where you're giving them understands why you're giving and is living the why of the giving. That's what pleases Elohim. So yes, there's a lamb each day. Well, why'd you give us all that curb appeal? Because my job was to tell you, don't come before him empty. So on the Kodesh Mikra, you come, bring your body, and bring your offering. If this is becoming a law, you're going to know it goes beyond the day we come. There's also in Sukkot and in Pesach the life in between the days we come, because it's a lifestyle. It's not an event. It is life. Not sure if I'm boring you guys. I see our numbers keep dropping and moving in. I'm sure our internet is probably weak. So y'all tell me now, would y'all like the idea? Do y'all care for the idea that there will be a class on how you can, I promise you, if you give me 3 months, I can help you to be compliant financially and at ease and in a greater place financially in your keeping and preparing for the feasts, so that when they come, you're not ashamed that you are not prepared because we didn't know what to do. There's a statement that I'll say, and you'll probably get a theme out of this later on. I'm going to make an assignment happen there. Whereas when you're conscious of your preparation, when you are conscious of your savings, you'll be conscious of your spending. You just changed your entire world. And when you're conscious of your spending, you'll be conscious of your savings. You've just changed your entire world. It's vice versa. The issue is the consciousness towards preparing and laboring to enter into the place that the blessing guarantees you to have been empowered from. You don't prepare, you prepare to fail. If you prepare to go in, you prepare to receive thing. And after you've done the will of Him, after you've done, you have need of patience, just a little bit of patience. And then that which shall come will come and will not tarry. The promise comes, it hits you, it floods you, and it comes upon you like nobody's business. So if you're ready to learn it, I'm not it to looky loos. I'm not teaching it to, oh, that sounds nice. Oh, yeah, I want to learn that. Oh, yeah. No, no, no. This is lifestyle. These are lifestyle people. These are those who are really living it. These are those enduring. These are those who are saying to themselves, hey, I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot of church. Ain't nothing like this. This is real life for me. I'm doing it for real, and I'm learning how to cook. It's like a parent training its offspring how to keep house the way they've been kept in this house. Everything ain't perfect. The child will take it to another level. But when the parent teaches a child how to cook the meal that is the celebrated meal in their home, when they teach them to cook the meal of their culture, if you are of this culture, you should know how to make this meal, and you better not mess it up, because in our culture, this we eat, this is a trademark. You know what I mean? In our world, and that's what this is. That parent teaches that child how, in fact, to literally cook that meal, sew that garment, literally play that sport, which is directly and inextricably connected to their culture. Passing of a baton, that is sharing and raising up a child in the way they should go. When they get older, they won't part from it. So when you're doing this way, you're learning, okay, this is how this lifestyle is, and you something new every day. So even though I coach my son in basketball, I coach my son in football, which is directly connected to our culture, I can only teach him so much. Maybe just dribble today, maybe how to pass tomorrow from a different sport, right? And then maybe how to catch the pass. Maybe now how to set up to get a pass, set up to make a pass. Those things in stages, in tranches. Baseball, how to swing a bat, maybe how to pitch a ball, maybe how to catch a ball, catch a ball that's thrown, catch a ball that's hit. All of these things are new of that genre, of that craft. And each day as we live, I teach you more. You learn more. You're not going to learn it all. You like the game of baseball, you like the game of football, you like the game of football, you like the game of basketball. You might understand it from her. Once you go in to participate in activity, you better know the nuances of how to catch it, how to swing it, how to throw it, how to run it, how to dribble it, how to make a basket, how to make a rebound. But if you don't know how to do those things, then you'll be considered a poor player. And if you are a poor player, you don't maximize the benefits of being seen as someone who can make money at it. If you learn those nuances, it's a lifestyle that gets you to the place that you can be someone that people would pay to come and watch you do it. Was that too much? Too many analogies? Did my brain go to that? Did I show y'all the thinking me too much on that one? So in this lifestyle of what you and I both know is our faith, in this lifestyle of what both you and I know is our faith, we have to walk in a way that isn't about an event, it's about the life. And life has a style. And if you're really a basketball player, when people see the way you dress shows them you a basketball player. The way you walk shows them you a basketball. I can tell you anybody specializing in a particular sport that I've coached, I can tell you that's a football player, that's a basketball player, that's a soccer player, that's a baseball player. I can tell you by how they walk, how they hold their arms, how they hold their shoulders. If they're a soccer player, they hold their chest up. They're so used to using their legs, so everything else has an idea. If they're a basketball player, there's certain things that they do and their nuances of they move, the way they dress, the kind of clothes they wear. If they are a football player, not a football, but not a soccer player, football, but a football, American football player, then they look a certain way because they look like this. If they're a rugby player, I can tell how they are because the football players and the rugby's necks are different. And that's if you know those sports, if you know those genres. It's a lifestyle. For those that live that lifestyle, you know it. Those who've been dope boys. I know a dope boy when I see one. I know a ball when I see one dressed in a three-piece suit, or they dressed in some Adidas and some jeans. I can tell you, when you've lived the life, what they say, game no game, you know the life. A con know a con, you know the life. A man knows a right. It's because you live the life. You can tell when people are perpetrating a fraud. When someone trying to act my culture, wearing my stuff, flaunting my style, ain't about. If I can look, you ain't about that life. So it's a lifestyle. Am I making sense? I can tell you if you fronting, as we would say back in the 80s, you perpetrating a fraud or you fronting. It's just a veneer. You're looking that way so you can get in and hopefully be allowed to hang out in that arena long enough that you can pick up nuances and cues on how to live that life and maybe fool somebody from your genre that you are multicultural. It's a big difference. And in church, you got a lot of that going on. People coming over to listen to what you're teaching. We're going to hang out long enough to learn this stuff. So when I go back to my genre, I'll look like I'm about multicultural stuff and I'm ahead of you. And because I'm in that arena more than you should be, because that arena is where we get what we do from. And, I can be, man in the land of the blind, technically. So you have to be conscious of it. That it's not an event. This is not a sale. This is not a POS, point of sale scenario. This is a lifestyle. We wake up like this. The phrase "I woke up like this," yeah. When I wake up every morning, every day, it's Yahweh. How do I prepare for Pesach? I'm already saving Pesach now, and yes, I'm tapped out from Shavuot, SUKKOT. I'm tapped out. I got 1, 2, 3 more days. I got 3 more days of the giving. I still got to give my lambs. I give mine as well, and so I do it now. Now you ask me, well, Pastor, what do you do? I'll tell you. Well, I do this. Why you do so much? Oh, you didn't read? You just came to the event. You're not trying to live the life. Don't worry about it. Just keep living. That's what I'll tell you. Just keep living. It'll come. And when it comes, I'll be here to answer your questions. So there are people who was like, hey, I'm really about this life. And they started studying and getting in there like, hey, Apostle, I just read this. You were telling us about that, but this says, right, I tell you the mandatory, but if this really what you want to live, you're going to ask me about that stuff that's in between. So this we make our bed. season our meat. This how we wash our clothes. This how we pray the Lord. This how we actually, yard. Oh, so you don't just hire people to do the yard, cut it yourself. Yeah. Yeah, it's not an event. We don't pay people to do this. We do this. Am I making sense to y'all? And Linda Marsha says, I need help making this a lifestyle. Linda, real talk, I just give you the key to doing it. Just start reading the Torah for real on your own without being told to do it. Just get into it. Getting into the Torah, you start to see, oh, this is, and if you've been paying attention to the lessons that make you now want to know this lifestyle, once you've heard some of those lessons and you start reading it for yourself, you're like, oh, now I know where he said that. Now I know why. Oh, this is where hey, and you be so excited. You run around the house like, hey, come here. Remember when they was talking about this on the video? See right here. This is what it meant. Oh God. And you be next thing you know, other things open up. Now you're like, okay, I got a question. I got to call this. I got to answer this. And then you start asking questions, and then we can get you the answers to those questions and show you where else it appears. So you're like, my goodness. Now you're forever affected. This is why I love when I read the writ to y'all, and I tell you, you'll never read that passage again the same way. I promise you. The next time you read that passage, after you heard it taught and read that way, you'll be like, oh, snap. Oh, I didn't see it that way. Oh, that's so good. Anybody out there know what I'm talking about? Anybody can witness and testify that, yeah, he right. Yeah, he right. I can't deny. See it different. Anybody? Nobody. Anybody? Somebody. Everybody. Nobody? So by the time you actually open up that writ, by the time to it, you start looking at it, you're like, wow, now I see what they said because I see it when I read it. I see what they said because I'm now in a place where I've read it. It opens us up. All right, Zion, I got to let y'all go. I think I've held y'all up long enough. So, yeah, we got 3 more days. We got one more mandatory day that you have heard us talk from Curbside about your givings. You got the 6th at sundown of your lamb giving. Well, I'll talk more about Numbers 29 tomorrow. We try to usually do these things out of season, not in season, so that when you into the season, this is why you all hear me. Some people think I'm being arrogant, conceited, respectful of people when I say this ain't for the looky-loo. I don't teach for who technically is a church hopper. I say that in love because it does boil down to people who are just jumping here and there, trying to grab anything they can grab and don't know what you taking in that could kill you or kill you. You just trying to find anything you can find because you think you're being led by the Holy Spirit. Ruach HaKodesh teaches you in one place. That's why you think he keep telling you to sit down? Having done all, just stand right there. Why you think he keep telling you to be still? How many different ways can he tell you? Chill. Learn, listen. You got it? Okay, now get understanding of it. You picked it up. You like it? You like the way it feels? Now understand it. You're wearing it? Good. Now know why I hate it. So it's like, be still and know he is Elohim. And all you're getting is understanding. He does this. He can't keep telling us any more. There's no more ways to tell us be still. You want to jump from church to church. Oh, I can't learn over here. I can't learn here anymore. Now, granted, if the place ain't teaching his word, that's different. If the word is being taught, your life is being changed and you don't have to struggle to swallow what's being said. You're in a safe place. You might have to say, well, I didn't hear it that way, but let me hear the whole story and you tell it. That's different than you trying to be force-fed, green. you know, and being told that's Kool-Aid. That's a different ball game. You like it don't smell right. Why my tongue burning? Just drink it. Drink it. Oh, I don't. My throat hurt. Oh, that's God moving. See, that's the feeling of God. I need to stop, don't I? Okay, it's been fun talking to you. I got some appointments I got to keep. Uh, but I hope y'all. I hope you get the point. So again, this is the proceeding. Yours truly, Apostle B.W. Jones. I'll come back on Wednesday. Y'all want to be here on Wednesday. Moderators have promised to keep me on point to help y'all with Deuteronomy, Numbers 29, Leviticus 23, 26. I'm going to give it all to you. And this way you know what you're doing. But I'm also, for those of you willing, I have some stuff out there on social media. You guys to sign up for this course, but you're going to have to ask some questions, because if you're not living this life, I'm not sharing it with you. How dare you? I'll share with you the lifestyle. I'll share with you where we're supposed to live. I promise you, I'll take you right to it. But if your questions aren't sincere, remember, the word of Elohim is a discerner of the hearts of men. If I discern you just want this, so you ain't doing. I have the right not to open my mouth. But when I do open my mouth, I won't stop. But when I open my mouth, it will be around those who understand what we're doing and why we do it. And you're not doing it because you want to be whatever. You are pushing for endurance. You are pushing to endure like a good soldier. Many people aren't doing that. Many people don't do that. But we're going to make sure that we do it rightly. So the classing, it'll be in a couple of weeks. November will be here before you know it. It won't be a long class either, but it will be a real class, and we'll have 3 weeks. It'll be 3 sessions long. I know that for a fact. And it will be a private class. You have to be dedicated to that class. It's not going to cost you anything. The only thing you're going to have to pay is attention. But if Elohim works, when you give in a deposit, you should seed. If you've eaten the fruit of that tree, you should keep that seed and plant it again to make sure that that tree comes back again. Because if that fruit was that good, you want to save that seed and sow that seed to get another tree. One, but you have to pay nothing. There'll be no strings attached. But if you understand the lifestyle, you know what you need to do. So there'll be a registration. There'll be a registration question, series of questions. And some of you, if I say your name, I already know your lifestyle yet. But maybe this information will help any of you who are like, so I mean, I know I'm supposed to, but I don't know how. I'm gonna show you how I did it. It took me blood and tears. It took me some embarrassment, but I got it now, and I'm happy now, and I'm honored that I can come into the knowing how daunting of a responsibility it is to sacrifice to Him, and I barely blink now. I'm depleted by preparations. The end of my preparedness for compliance, but I'm compliant because I prepared. And now that I'm compliant, I only got to wait a little bit of time before that which will come based on my compliance shall come. And I'm not over what all I had to render, because preparing for it also prepared for ancillary things in my life after I've done the mandatory thing of pleasing Him. I can tell you this, you're going to need to start immediately, and you're going to need at least 3 months. And fortunately for many of you, Pesach is several months, 5, 6 months away. Yeah, Pesach I just taught you that, right? Pesach is 6 months away. So if you do what I'm going to share with you, you'll be able to comply with everything in Pesach and hurt you no way getting there and leave you not thin once you get there. So you'll have to go back, Shirley. You have to go back and view it. Just rewind it. It'll be here. Catch the last part, second part. But we'll have stuff on social media for you guys to look for. So look out on VWJs on Facebook primarily. That's where it'll be. That's really where it will be. Um, I don't even think I want to put this on House because of all the looky loos and the the word gives you the right. I'm not judging, but when you have discernment, you know where you know when and where to put it. So you who are part of this lifestyle, you're on VWJ Ministries on Facebook. Uh, you can it'll be there. And anyway, you still gotta pass. You gotta pass the test to get in this class because I'm not going to give it to you. It's going to be free, and I'm not just going to give this to people who have no sense of responsibility, just a sense of wanting to know something rather than to learn it and live it. Father, we thank you for the day, time, and space. We ask you to be with us, in us, and through us for your name's sake. And I pray that I've done your word well. I pray I've helped the people. If the word, man, shall I live by bread alone, but by these out of the mouth of you, Yahweh Elohim, in this space today, in this time, today, help us in every way. Be like, be toward you, be for you, be compassionate of you, be ambassadors of you, your kingdom's sake. To be glory, honor, dominion, might, and power, both now and forever. And everything that we've learned, everything we've been a part of, I pray you now, grace us, give us your wisdom. In the precious name of Yeshua HaMashiach. We love you, we adore you, and I hope I've honored you today. And I just want to praise you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Y'all, you live all this life. I can say this in the Western American culture, which I am proud of. I am proud to be an American. However, I'm not says we live in such a horrible country. You live here, you weren't born here, you probably just came here and you saw opportunity. But for those of us who are literally proud to be an American, I am most aware of the issues we have in this country. But I can't go in any other country and live any freer there than here. Not one. However, in America, we have things that we grew up learning. So in America, we grew up trying to amass information and trying to amass riches. And they purposefully taught us to go after riches, especially in certain demographics. They never taught us to go after education. They never taught us to go after well digging, because a well is where your riches can be stored. Education is where you learn how to make better wells. But they taught us to go after riches because they knew that riches would suffice their well digging and their well supply, because we would give them our riches to dig their wells for their generational wealth. Man, when you get it, you just get it. But even as I've learned over all these years, 5+ decades, struggled terribly, experiencing but not knowing I was in abject poverty. Now coming out, seeing it all from a different perch, realizing what needs to be done to stop my generation behind us from going into it, and even generations that I'm in to come out of. More, the point of this is the more I'm learning, though I grew up trying to learn to stay ahead of everything, the more I'm learning, the more I realize I know nothing compared to what I thought I knew. And that's not a derogatory shot at myself. That is a sombering reality check that with the years I have left, we've all been promised 70. Yahweh controls when we leave here. You never know. For me, 70 is a promise, and I know he keeps his word. I've got a very short time to share what I do know is right and factual with those who can, beyond me, should Messiah tarry, bring kingdom into manifestation. And the more I study the Torah, I realize where I thought I was based on my Christian faith, based on my culture's viewpoint on life globally. I am not where I'm realizing I'm not where I thought I was. And where I thought I was, I mean, I am. And what I am in the environment that reared me, the viewpoints are very shallow and ill-interpreted it on a global platform. So the more I live and the more I'm learning, the more I realize I don't know what I thought I knew. I'm getting it. I'm realizing we were sold a bill of lading that did not actually exist. And the more I realize what does exist and what does foundationalize and what does cause for the world to go around, I need more of it. I'm glad I'm finding out where to pull it from now. But my problem is I'm in the right place to dig. I'm in the right place to learn. Now it's a matter of time. And hopefully, if we keep digging out in this mine, we keep digging in this well, if we have enough time, we might be able to make substantial change. That's where we are. The more I live, the more I realize we have a lot to live. Yahweh bless you and keep you. So glad you were here with me today for the proceeding. May he hold you in everything that he has for you intact for your life. Shalom Aleichem.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.